Right, let's go to the story now. The ongoing blackouts continue to harm the already strained economy. As a result of the power cuts, some sectors may be forced to lay off workers. The motor body repairs industry is one such industry that has been hit hard by the blackouts. Businesses are now looking for ways to stay afloat while dealing with Eskom's inability to keep the lights on. For more on this, we are joined by Charles Canning from the South African Motor Body Repairers Association. Mr. Canning, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Just firstly, I imagine that your industry is definitely affected because you use machinery to be able to fix these vehicles that come to your shops, right?
Yes, you're quite right. And first of all, good afternoon and thank you for having me. Our businesses have been very adversely affected by the ongoing load shedding in South Africa. What we're finding is that the costs attached to keeping the lights on as such during any load shedding scheduled blackout amounting to thousands of rands per week. And that's just for the repairers that are lucky enough to have generators within their own businesses. What we're finding is that in the smaller businesses where they don't have the capacity to lay out the capital for large generators, they are suffering tremendously. We are expecting job cuts in our industry. We're looking at short time because not only keeping the lights on is positive for business and for production. What we're finding is that the insurance companies, predominantly the ones that we deal with, that measure our turnaround times. This is being adversely affected by the inability for us to repair vehicles timeously and return them to the customer.
And that's exactly where I was going. I mean, depending on what you're fixing on the vehicle, sometimes it's just a dent, etc. But I'm just wondering, I mean, the turnaround time and how it's been affected, making customers angry, obviously.
So I think, I was speaking to colleagues in the industry this morning about this, and I remember 15 years ago or 20 years ago, fixing a car was easy. Today, we need to manage customer expectation and create theatre in our businesses just to try and keep customers happy. So it's an ongoing slog, and that coupled to the fact that we've just come through the COVID epidemic, we're now still facing the supply chain challenges that are as a result of the pandemic the world has faced. So the motor body repair industry right now is up against the wall.
And I understand that there are some dealerships, in terms of some cars like your Mercedes, who are currently going through a backlog in terms of actually sending some of these parts to the dealerships.
Now we're finding that, and let's not, I don't want to be specific about Mercedes-Benz, but I think most importers of motor vehicles into this country are facing the same problem. Not only is the supply chain out of Europe challenged, predominantly since Russia attacked the Ukraine, semiconductors and wiring looms predominantly, and electronic goods come out of that part of the world. So we're seeing that as being a huge challenge to us. And also freight costs have gone up. And I know out of the East, certain car manufacturers are even battling to find the steel to make the containers to put the parts in to get them to South Africa.
Mr. Canning, looking at some of this, obviously we know that there's a lot of negative that is coming out of load shedding, and of course we can't downplay that. But I've seen that there's some positive where some mechanics are getting more business from South Africans, asking them to fix, for instance, their generators. Is this true?
Well, I think that would be a different sector of the motor body repair, of the retail motor industry. As such in South Africa. We haven't seen an uptake in volumes into our shops since load shedding hit. I don't think the motor body repair sector is in the market to repair generators. And in fact, if that is the case, I take my hat off to those that have diversified and allowed themselves into that space.
Are you concerned at all as an industry? I mean, for instance, your garages, usually if you're fixing a bumper, for instance, of a vehicle, maybe you tell a customer that it's going to take 2 weeks and suddenly it's taking a month or more, and you have all these expensive vehicles parked at your at your garages. Is there any concern in terms of crime, people trying to take chances, because now there's all these vehicles and the backlog keeps getting more and more because of load shedding?
So I'm not going to touch on crime as being one of the issues that we face, because I mean, essentially we all, it's a topic that we don't like to talk about, but it is a reality. I think what we do find is that the vehicles are sitting in our shops, they're taking up real estate, and they're causing that backlog that we can't bring in the next vehicle because we're still sitting with the one in our particular facility. What is a concern for me is because of the backlog, and let's be honest, the motor body repair industry is a black diamond industry in this country. We don't exactly have the best reputation out there, and that is exactly what SAMRA's been trying to change over the last 5 to 10 years. The perception of a motor body repairer. In fact, I can add that it doesn't matter which association you belong to in this country, South Africa has some of the best motor body repair facilities in the world, and we have measured ourselves against Europe and America. So, it's not like we are falling behind world trends from a repairability perspective, but repairers do tend to get creative in trying to get the vehicle out of the shop, and that's something that we frown against, or frown upon. Sorry.